So you're in the market to not spend a fortune on a smartphone and instead want one with enough top-notch features, a great camera, and all while still keeping in mind that with a budget phone comes stripped down features versus their respective flagships. In terms of low-cost phones under $500, you have plenty of options, with the main contenders in this space being Samsung's Galaxy A53 and Apple's iPhone SE. So there's a lot of pressure on Google's budget offering, the Google Pixel 6a, to deliver without too many compromises. Sure, you won't get the amazing camera hardware and larger, more vivid display from its flagship counterparts, but there's enough here that makes this a worthy candidate for those individuals wanting the perfect sweet spot between price and features. In today's video, we're going to explore what's new on the Pixel 6a, and at the end, I'll tell you where I think this phone stands within the budget smartphone market. There's a lot to cover, so buckle up, grab a snack and drink if you have one nearby, and without further ado, let's get started by rolling that intro. So first, let's take a look at a quick unboxing of Google's newest budget phone. So first, we have a clear image of the back of our new Google Pixel 6a that features that visor design that houses our camera setup, which we'll discuss a bit later. You can pick up the Google Pixel 6a with a starting MSRP of $449 in your choice of charcoal, chalk, and sage, which is this very light, almost olive green color with just a bit of the saturation turned up that results in a phenomenal color for a smartphone. So anyway, back to the box. We got the Google G front and center with Pixel 6a branding. On our left, top, and right side is a combination of Google branding, the Google G, and Pixel 6a branding, followed by our serial number information towards the bottom, and upon flipping it to the back, we see it reads #teampixel, just like all of the other Google phones. It makes you feel like you're part of some kind of family. But now, sadly, I guess this phone isn't premium enough to feature pull tabs, so you may need your handy dandy unboxing knife, or a pair of scissors works just fine, to remove the two circular stickers on either side so you're able to lift open the top lid, and the very first thing we're greeted with is the back of our brand new and shiny Google Pixel 6a in that beautiful sage I mentioned. We have a small pull tab at the bottom to help lift it out of the box, but for now, we'll set that off to the side to see what other goodies we find inside. Underneath that, towards the top, is a tiny box which houses our documentation, which also features a SIM ejection tool, as well as a quick start guide and warranty information. And at the bottom is our USB-C to USB-C cable used to charge and sync the phone, as well as this small adapter Google dubs the quick switch adapter, which is useful for those coming from other families of smartphones so that you can quickly and easily transfer your data onto your shiny new Pixel 6a. And lastly, now heading back to the star of the show, let's now remove the protective plastic shrouding the display so that it is protected from scratches during shipment, and now all you have to do is press our side button for a few seconds and the Pixel 6a should power on so that you can commence setup. Okay, so first things first, I'm going to throw the technical specifications of this new handset on screen right now. Some of the important things to highlight is the screen size, which is a 6.1-inch OLED display with a screen resolution of 2400 by 1080 pixels, with a standard refresh rate of 60 Hz and not 120 Hz. But it being a budget phone, I guess it's kind of excusable. The Pixel 6a also noticeably comes packed in with the same Tensor chipset that powers Google's Pixel 6 family, giving it a potential edge over some other cheaper Android alternatives that don't even come close to touching the speedy Tensor chip found inside. And there's always Google's undeniable upper hand in the computational photography department, something Google phones are well known for. We'll cover our camera setup more in detail in just a bit. Honestly, the Google Pixel 6a faces a massive challenge. It needs to sway bargain hunting consumers over to the Google side while also providing not bad for the price feature sets. Let's look at its design as it's a big part of the story here. If any of you guys remember the Pixel 6 Pro I reviewed last year, you'll come to see that the 6a borrows much of the design language from it, with some noticeable differences that are typically considered a downgrade. But again, this isn't the flagship model, so it's to be expected as Google tried to bring the cost of this device as low as possible. The back features the same two-tone design with this horizontal black visor that isn't as thick as the one on the Pixel 6 Pro. Upon laying both on a table, you'll find that the 6a does a better job of not being so raised up while laying flat, and overall makes the footprint of the 6a appear smaller and more comfortable, especially while having it in a pocket or when throwing it to the darkest depths of a purse, for example. On the front, the bezels surrounding our flat display are pretty thin, and just like I mentioned, the glass does not curve towards the end like on the more premium models. This could be a perk for some people, while others absolutely hate the curved display. It's all up to preference. We also feature a punch hole cutout for our selfie camera in the center top of the screen, which is an 8 megapixel f2.0 sensor that produces some pretty stellar selfies, and the colors always seem to be really accurate. Unlike the more flagship models, there is no face authentication with just a fingerprint sensor embedded underneath our display. But from my experience, the sensor is pretty slow and ends up making the budget phone feel a little outdated. I mean, it's not painfully slow, but as you can see, sometimes the reader isn't quick enough if you happen to quickly remove your finger from the display. In contrast, the fingerprint sensor on the all-new Pixel 7 Pro is much improved, and the differences in speed is quite noticeable. Probably me just nitpicking, but I did just want to mention it. The Pixel 6a is a lot easier to use one-handed versus the larger flagships like the Pixel 7 Pro, so for those with smaller hands, I'm sure this will be a plus. But I couldn't help but notice that while having the phone in the hands, the materials just feel cheaper, and that's because, compared to the flagship Pro and Pixel 6 and 7 line, the Pixel 6a doesn't feature a glass back and alloy frame, and instead features what Google calls a thermoformed composite back, which, don't be fooled, that's just fancy marketing BS. It's pretty much plastic. So on the sides and on the back, it will feel cheaper due to those cheaper materials, but being under $500, you really can't complain all that much. The front glass display the Pixel 6a has also uses Corning Gorilla Glass 3 versus the much more durable Gorilla Glass Victus found on the more premium models. But at least the Pixel 6a has an IP67 water and dust resistant rating, which is a cool feature to have on a sub $500 phone. Now, a few points on the display. I mean, it's good, it doesn't look bad at all, and I appreciate that Google continues to use OLED panels versus something like an LCD panel for its lower cost Pixel phones. OLED offers deeper and richer contrast while also providing you with intense and deep blacks that makes consuming media just that much more enjoyable. And for a budget phone, the display brightness does get plenty bright for better outdoors visibility. It offers 500 nits of normal max brightness and can even reach upwards of 800 nits of max brightness for HDR content when the phone switches to high brightness mode. Now, let's discuss those cameras, as historically, Google's hardware and computational photography have won consumers over taking wonderful shots reliably while providing some neat software features to make the experience all the more enjoyable and versatile. The Pixel 6a maintains the same two-camera setup that the Pixel 5a used, only thing is, the ultra-wide angle lens gets some adjustments. The 6a's ultra-wide sensor uses a 12 megapixel sensor compared to a 16 megapixel sensor that was found on the Pixel 5a. This might sound like a downgrade, but the physical sensor this time around is actually larger, meaning the Pixel 6a's ultra-wide camera, in theory, should let in more light for brighter and more concise images. The main shooter is still a 12.2 megapixel sensor with an f1.7 aperture. This doesn't come close to the mighty 50 megapixel plus sensors found on the more flagship models, so on paper, it appears to be wildly inferior, but this is where the magic of the Tensor chip and Google's photo processing software comes into play, with images reliably always coming out sharp and crisp. The Pixel 6a not only holds its own against rival camera phones around this price point, but produces images that could challenge even those phones that are priced closer to the $750 plus range. Camera quality is impeccable, and I'd be hard-pressed to find anyone that honestly and confidently thinks the photos the Pixel 6a produces are bad. With two different camera sensors, This offers more versatility over its main rival, the iPhone SE 3rd Gen, which only offers a singular 12 megapixel main sensor. Apple's budget offering also doesn't come with any sort of night mode, so the Pixel 6a appears to have a clear edge when outdoors at night or in situations that produce little lighting. The Pixel 6a may not enjoy the same 4x optical zoom of the Pixel 6 Pro, but for a budget phone, you really can't complain, seeing as how you get the same Google-like feel with every shot you take. Photography is always a very subjective topic. For example, some people pick up iPhones solely for the reliable camera quality iPhones are known for, but make no mistake, there's enough computational horsepower here that makes the Pixel 6a's stats on paper irrelevant for the most part. Of course, if you want the best hardware with lenses with more megapixels, better zoom, and overall better versatility, you may have to turn to the more expensive models, but for what this phone offers, you really can't beat it for the price. If you'd like to see a dedicated camera comparison test comparing this Pixel 6a to Apple's budget iPhone SE 3rd Gen, simply let me know in the comment section below. And now moving on to the topic of performance. With each upgrade, it's expected to be speedier than the prior generation. So is that the case with the budget Pixel line? Google not too long ago followed in Apple's footsteps by creating their own chipsets to power their mobile devices. So one of Google Silicon's main goal is to dedicate certain cores to compute intensive AI tasks, all while providing enough power and efficiency to make the Google experience a pleasurable one. I'm happy to let you guys know that the Pixel 6a is fast, snappy, and fluid despite its 60Hz display that is even more noticeable for those coming from a 120Hz display. But it's not to dock points from the Pixel 6a and single it out. It's not its fault, and truthfully, once you've been spoiled with a 120Hz refresh display, it's hard to go back to any 60Hz display. Google Phone's main focus is on AI and machine learning, so blazing fast performance isn't at the top of the Pixel 6a's chore list, with the onboard memory inside the device being extremely well optimized for most everything you throw at it. From video editing to multitasking to gaming, the Pixel 6a handles it all with extreme fluidity and almost no obvious stutters or lag. But for those wondering, let's look at the differences in Geekbench scores to see what kind of improvements we can expect from one generation to the next. Looking at our Geekbench scores, it looks like the 6a obliterates the prior Pixel 5a by sizable margins, with the single core score nearly being doubled, with the 5a scoring 592, while the 6a comes in at a more impressive 1045. Over on the multi-core side is where we see even more considerable improvements, with the 5a scoring 1359 on multi and 2953 on the Pixel 6a. This clearly shows that one can expect their shiny new 6a to be snappier, speedier, and more well optimized for whatever you have to throw at it versus the prior gen. And again, because it's running Google's own silicon, the UI and overall experience feels amazing. And lastly, let's go over battery, because truth be told, it's not exactly the best here. Officially, according to Google, the 6a is rated to have 24 hours of battery life, or up to a staggering 72 hours using extreme battery saver mode, which sounds like a lot on paper, but in practice is significantly less depending on what it is you're doing on your phone. Regardless, the optimization Google provides offers average and respectable battery life, despite the fact the Pixel 6a's battery is smaller than it was on the Pixel 5a, 4410 mAh versus 4680 mAh on the Pixel 5a. For my own handling, the Pixel 6a lasted me all day with ease and still had juice left over before bedtime. But don't worry, I plan to make a battery drain test showcasing the Google Pixel line, so if you want to make sure you don't miss out on that video, if you have not already, make sure to click the subscribe button down below and don't forget to ring the bell notification so that you're always informed as to each and every one of my uploads. So in the end, what's my verdict? The Pixel 6a is honestly hard to beat if you're looking for a stellar phone under $500. The thing is, nobody buying this phone should expect the flashiest features, as that's reserved for the pricier flagship models, but for what you pay, I'm extremely pleased with what Google has going on here. The phone has a distinctive Google feel to it while also providing the full Google experience down to features and software. Some features such as the voice to text is eerily good and gets nearly 98 to 99% of what you're saying down to a T. Some competitors still have some catching up to do in this department, But its standout feature is in the camera department, but not because of the hardware present, but what Google has done with its Tensor chip to optimize photographs to look spectacular. This is the go-to phone for those not wanting to spend a fortune on a great phone that takes amazing pictures. Really, the bigger debate is whether you should spend $150 more for the newly released Pixel 7, but I guess that's a different topic for another day. For all my Google users, I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions down in the comments section below. Still got a lot of exciting content for you all right around the corner, so I'm clocking out for now, but you'll be seeing a lot more from me in your subscription feed real soon. Take care, and bye for now.